Hi guys, we're going to talk about graphing in standard form. Standard form looks like AX plus BY equals C. So you still have your X and your Y, but A and B are numbers that would come before the X and Y. So X and Y have coefficients, and then there is a constant or a plain number on the other side. An example is right here, 3x minus 2y equals negative 12. So if we want to graph this, the easiest way to graph something in standard form is to find the x and the y-intercept. And in order to find the x and the y-intercept, the x-intercept is going to be when y equals 0. Okay, so I'm going to plug in 0 for y and solve for x, and that should give me the x-intercept. So when I go over here, negative 2 times 0 is just 0, and I have 3x equals negative 12. So it's a one-step equation. I'm just going to solve and get x equals negative 4. And I'm going to plant that. I'm going to find the x-axis. So the x-axis is your horizontal axis. I'm going to plot that at negative 4. That's my x-intercept. From there, we're going to find our y-intercept. And our y-intercept, of course, is when x is 0. So I'm going to plug in 0 for x instead. It looks like this. And 3 times 0 is just 0. And again, I'm left with a one-step equation that I need to solve. So the y is being multiplied by negative 2. We're going to divide both sides by negative 2. The y-intercept is going to be a positive 6 because negative divided by negative is a positive. And I'll plot that on my graph. And I can connect the x and the y-intercepts. Voila, I've done it. Okay, so that's how I would graph in in standard form. Okay, the alternative to that, I'll use the same. So if we had 3x minus 2y equals negative 12, is to put it in slope-intercept form and graph that way. So I could solve for y, and I would have to get rid of my lonely guy first, or the one that's not attached to the y. And so I have this, and then I have negative 12 minus 3x. Then my next step would be to get the y alone. So since it's multiplied by negative 2, I would divide each item by negative 2. And that cancels out. I get y equals, I like to box these off. And negative 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then negative 3 divided by negative 2 is going to be a positive 3/2 x. And so from there, I could plot my y-intercept at 6. And then use my slope, rise over run, to move through the table. So my slope, my rise is 3. So I would go up 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to go a little bit off the graph. And we're going to run 2, 1, 2. And then the next point is there. You'll notice it continues on that line. So that's how I could do it. I could solve for y and then use my y-intercept and my slope, my rise over run, to move through it. Or I could find the intercepts. And when I find the intercepts, that means I'm going to plug in 0 for x to find the y-intercept, and then I'm going to plug in 0 for y and find the x-intercept. So let's just do one more problem. Let's say 4x minus 8y equals 16. And so we're going to plug in 0 for x to find the y-intercept. And when you do that, 4 times 0 cancels out, right? It's just 0. And then now I'm just solving. Negative 8y equals 16. So I would divide both sides by negative 8. And the y-intercept is going to be negative 2. So I'm going to plot that on my y-axis. Now I'll do the same thing to find the x-intercept. Okay, so let's do this one in blue. So to find the x-intercept, we're going to plug in 0 for y. So we have 4x minus 8, 0 equals 16. And 8 times 0 is just 0. It cancels out. And we have 4x equals 16. And to solve that, we divide both sides by 4. My x-intercept is positive 4. So I'm going to go to the x-axis, the horizontal axis, plot my point at 4, and connect the 2 points. That's all we have to do for graphing in standard form.